This is for everybody who has already met their karmic soulmate, twin flame, soulmate. And for those of you who are still thinking, who is he? Who is she? Where can I find them? So before I start, I'm going to just explain to you the spread that I have developed for this occasion. So here are the significators that I'm using for this particular reading. Remember, significators mean that this is going to be the same for every sign. The reason why I'm choosing them, it's sort of like the category that I really want to find the answers to, as if you're in a bookstore and you find a book with this title. So let me explain to you the significators that I'm choosing. The first one is Luna. Luna is going to tell me about the darkness and everything that maybe still didn't surface, maybe things that you don't know, maybe things that you should know. Then we have Solar Deity. Solar Deity is going to tell us what you should know. Maybe there is like still somewhere lingering, maybe it is too bright for you, maybe it's too close to your eyes, but you're going to realize that maybe you know that. Then we have Reason. Many of us are asking, why? That's the hardest question as a therapist and as a reader to really answer. Why? Because we people, we don't really make too much sense when it comes to love. So we're going to try to answer it within this card. Then we have the card guidance. Let's see, because it's your mirror soul, what do you need to find out about this person? If you guys still didn't read my introduction to this series, please check somewhere in this corner before you proceed, because it's going to tell you really how and what I see it. I see it as a mirror, and that's why this is called Mirror Healing Series. Then we are getting to the Tower, and the Tower is going to tell us about what needs to break. It is like always a time that certain things cannot grow anymore, and maybe they cannot grow because they're not sustainable. Maybe, you know, we need to kind of change us. Maybe they need to change. Whatever it is, we're going to discover it in this category. And the Chariot, a lovely card with pushing it forward. Where do we go? Which turn do we take? And then let's check the significance of all of this. Two of Chalices. Is there a kiss that is going to happen? Or what at this point of time is karma telling us? So, guys, shall we start? Capricorn, and welcome to your August-September twin flame readings. So let's start. The baseline is free yourself and trust. It's kind of like really interesting because whenever I see unicorn, for some reason I'm seeing a Capricorn, and that in my mind this is always intrinsic message. So it kind of like talks definitely of being caught in some kind of like environment where you clearly don't belong, where you cannot expand, where you cannot show your greatness. Just being nice and kept captive. It's like a bird in a golden cage. It says it is time to take back control of your life. Free yourself. It is really interesting because most people coming to the reading for twin flames are expecting a reunion, expecting to kind of like find that flame that kind of like once kind of like really overwhelmed them. For you, there are issues that you kind of like discovered that it was really hard for you to trust, and it is something that you need to repair within yourself, because otherwise you really wouldn't get the Star card. And the Star card is probably the most auspicious card in this entire deck. And check it out. Here we see a woman. She's standing basically on the edge of the lake, and we have that flamingo on her side. and it's beautiful pink, just like love is, right? So they're like these two cups. She's pouring that water from these two cups into the lake, and one of them is just like pouring over that lotus. So she is conscientiously kind of like opening up and growing, right? And also we see this rays kind of like connecting with everything, right? Of the star in the sky meet the moon, right? And also meet basically this star on the woman's headband, and also the rising star. So stars are aligning in this particular thing, right? So it is, like, as I said, one of the loveliest card in the entire deck. It's pure hope. It's unstained by arrogance, unstained by disappointment or doubt, and the hope that before the kind of like something that becomes solid, we have that feeling of faith and hope, just like is talking over here. And this is kind of like really almost like repairing the fabric of who we are. This is not necessarily, oh well, you know, sure, yes, I'm going to trust tomorrow. This is the quality that kind of like exists in us. I kind of like really believe that without this, we just really cannot fulfill who we are in life. We cannot kind of like spread our wings, because the star, and look at this connectivity here with everything, illuminates the divinity in everyone and everything. It is like miracle card, right? So I think if you're not already dealing with an Aquarius, and these people sometimes possess these stars, sometimes aligning, sometimes not aligning, so the experience of the star can be one of those days and you kind of like really wake up all happy for no special reason. It's just like, you know, stretching your arms and saying, hey, welcome day, I am so happy to be alive, and everything turns to be beautiful, everything is more colorful, and you know, even the suffering kind of looks like something that can be repaired, something that can be worked on. So the experience of the star is like kind of like divine ecstasy and brilliance and clarity, inspiration, and kind of like dealing with something unconventional. And it's kind of like really interesting that you're having like these 2-8 kind of like lessons, given that today I'm reading this on a partial solar eclipse, and this is like August, basically the 8, August the 11th. So we have that 11 and 8, and also the year and the entire kind of like thing is 11. So this is very, very auspicious, what I'm seeing here. The Fool is also ultimately about the trust. It's ultimately about kind of aligning ourselves and making ourselves kind of like move forward, and kind of like reaching out for this perfect moment in time and in place, for this possibly divine connection. So let's start, Capricorn. What is hidden in this period? So we have Princess of Pentacles, we have Thief, and we have Six of Cups. Look at those eyes looking at you, looking deep inside of your soul, not just like what she sees on the surface. This is that huge connection, and look what we see in the background over here. Can you see this? This little kind of like goat, you kind of like jumping from basically a mountain to mountain, and kind of like surviving even the most impossible situations. This particular basically card is talking about slow development of acquired knowledge, kind of like thoughts that kind of like need to be there. Now, this to me can talk about something hidden behind the scenes. And I think in your case, this is really talking about somebody undermining your efforts, or somebody did that in the past. Because look at this guy, fellow, he's walking completely clueless about some other people just taking away what they think is theirs. And instead of like really feeling sorry for this person, there is like this kind of like laughing matter in the situation. Maybe you have been a subject to something cruel. Maybe you have to recover from that cruelty, and you're maybe very dedicated yourself right now to simply kind of like learn more, maybe about the person, or maybe about the circumstances that sort of like ended up in kind of like, it looks like unfortunate situation, because the thief also tells me that could have been involvement of a third party, that it was just creating discomfort everywhere. And maybe it also is telling me that maybe you are the one who has lost, let's call it lost. There is like still reminiscing about this person, and also what you are not aware of is that they are also thinking about you. But they're also understanding, because look at this. This is to me Mercury retrograde card, which is going to be almost like until early in September. He is giving, and he's willing, and he's looking straight at her, but she's not looking straight. She has moved her head to the side, and she's looking at a distance. What is she looking at? What is she wondering? What does she want? She's definitely holding her ground. And given that you're earth sign, and they're like two kind of like grounded kind of like figures, I really feel that somebody realized that certain things went too far. And this is what you don't know. They know how deep is the situation, and they know how basically you would react about it. And maybe this is something that you still didn't fully uncover. So let's see what is known to you. Occupation, and then Temperance reversed, and the High Priestess reversed. Well, the Lady of the Veils. Maybe something kind of like took your attention. Maybe you kind of like have been diligent at work, and certain things were happening while you were at work. Maybe you really need to provide for your family, and you were not being attentive to this person, or vice versa. And this kind of ended up in conflict. This ended up in sort of like something just sliding sideways. When Temperance kind of like comes reversed, this is kind of like a really important card, very similar to Star, because I always kind of like wonder, why are there two? Especially usually this is one shown as the winged creature, but this one is always shown as naked, because that nakedness is needed to be authentic, to be who we really are, to kind of like not to belong just to one person, but to belong to this entire world. It has that, you know, the truth will set you free kind of the energy. But on the other hand, Temperance is kind of like in the other decks shown as an angel, but not in this one. And this one is also shown as the woman who is pouring also 2 cups, right? And in here in the stream we see also the sun looming, and we see this basically irises, right? So this woman over here is, I don't know, like this kind of like to me is really connecting with the Chariot in this particular deck, because in the Chariot we see dynamic change, and that change of that energy, that this energy that is kind of being born out of tension and competition. And then you come to Temperance, and it's like changed through the blending of elements gradually and kind of like naturally, kind of like things that need to happen. So you know what they say, you meet somebody for a season, for a reason, for day or night. And this is like really that kind of like card that has that word eons. That twin flame thing. This is definitely that psychic connection that I see here that is still existing, and you know it, but something has been dramatic or violent, and you may have been separated not because of the third party only. Could be just like some kind of like event, earthquake, you know, job elsewhere, you know, something that kind of like depended on us to kind of like move forward in a different direction. And there is like here this essence of observing what's going to happen. But the High Priestess also came reversed, and it's kind of like almost like losing faith, losing that connection, and kind of like really dedicating to here and now. It's kind of like this occupation. You guys are really dedicated sign. You kind of like, you can love, you can be devastated after loss of life, but you're not going to let other people in your life, your employer, your friends, your family down because of that. You're always going to keep that really very, very important on this level, right? It's kind of like, it's really interesting that I guess there is like this essence of greed that I see here. Maybe somebody wanted everything from you, and you were kind of like pacing yourself and couldn't give everything too much, because the Temperance reverse is telling me that there was like this clear selfishness from one side in this matter. Sort of, there was no the middle way, there was no moderation, there was no patience, there was like no accommodation or bringing people together. This also could mean that some of you had issues at work, and that kind of like this had to take this kind of like front, kind of like exposure and front burner, and maybe somebody else just didn't have that patience, because look at this A and Alpha and Omega, and that's what Amazon took there, like from A to Z, because this is in Greek alphabet. The first and the last letter A to Z is in the Western. But this kind of like is talking about the story has been told, that you feel that the story right now, the book, maybe needs to be closed, and you maybe need to kind of like free yourself. There is like definitely an essence of mistrust over here. So let me see the reasons for this situation. Oh la la. Message of concern. The Three of Pentacles reversed and Ace of Cups. Something was brought to your attention. This also kind of has this temperament. Maybe somebody had a bad temperament, and that you didn't like. That kind of like maybe usurped your life. But I wanted to say temperance. And there was like something that took things out of proportion. There was like definitely lacking ability of kind of like working together towards some kind of like defined goal. But in spite of it, kind of like things were continuing. And this clearly tells me that you didn't pay attention to red flags. That there was like this huge feeling of this magic in the air. Huge feeling of, hey, you know what? Like, I mean, the stars are aligning. Like, and this is kind of like that, kind of like really essential kind of like glue that you feel when you kind of like have a feeling like this. So let me see this. Oh my gosh, look at that. Prison. Well, somebody could have been incarcerated, but this prison card to me really talks usually about a marriage, or somebody not being able to get out of some kind of situation that maybe kind of like robbed them of their ability to really open their wings and fly toward you. I kind of like see that here as well. Kind of, if you're going from a thief to prison, somebody taking something away from you, or maybe you even being accused of kind of like taking something away from somebody. And it's kind of like weird, this coming on Ace of Cups. And lack of conversation. Some conversation didn't happen. And I think that can be turned around point over here, because that's sort of like the reasoning behind that. That message that needs to kind of like, there is like somebody who is waiting for this message. And there is like another person who maybe you didn't hear from somebody, and it is time to kind of like issue this message of concern if you're still thinking about them. Or it's going to happen the other way around, because there is like this also essence that things are ungluing completely, that you're even putting under this question mark. Did it really exist? Was this just simply in my head kind of a thing? Because you kind of like really have a bad taste in your mouth over certain things from the past, and actually you don't even know everything about this. So let's see the guidance about this. You have poverty, you have the World reversed, and then you have Six of Pentacles. So there is something from the past that is still kind of stuck in this situation. You see this card World. Usually I have these 4 fixed signs enveloping this kind of like beautiful dancing figure, And so we usually have the Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius over here. You kind of have this Aquarian energy. Aquarius and Capricorn are both ruled by Saturn, so that is not necessarily very surprising. But there is like this energy that is still swirling with the past. You are still stuck in some kind of motion of certain things that you feel that you're being saddled with. Somebody definitely robbed you of something. That poverty and the thief and lack of something keeps permeating over here. You know, it sounds to me that somebody kicked you when you were down. And that is kind of like that flavor that stuck with you. It's one of those, excuse me, what they call it, defining moments in life. And I think you're shifting because the guidance says that you guys need to release the past. And again, free yourself. The world is like this wonderful card, which is like also talking about now. The time is now. The action is now. It is like something that is talking about karma needs to be completed, right? You kind of like need to get out of these constraints, whether those constraints are self-imposed or these constraints are kind of imposed by the others. Maybe there are like circumstances in your life where you're kind of like really wondering about what is surrounding you, who is surrounding you. Maybe there is a distance, maybe there is a physical distance between you and your mate. This is talking about, again, that you need to be able to trust, that you need to be able to open. It is not just having a direction toward this person, because I do feel this person is definitely being advised to kind of being left in the past. We are yet going to see that, but it's kind of like giving you this power to kind of like furbish yourself, replenish yourself, free yourself, to be much bigger than you are. Not to be some kind of like goat somewhere on the hill, but be the unicorn. You guys deserve to be the unicorn. You guys have the stars aligning unicorn trust coming here. So, you know, that's kind of cannot get better than that. And this is this card of, hey, look at this magic. I can do anything. I can open myself to kind of creating stuff. This kind of is especially very important for you being an earth sign, that there is like this essence of finally expanding. Did you ever try to open your arms like that? Try it, because that's finally that gesture that kind of like it says, I'm open and able to receive all the goods, right? And also in this card, basically we have this kind of crescent moon, and he's standing on the peak. Usually sixes are, and you have a second six, so there is like the soulmate. There are kind of this connection and the pinnacles in life. So we have this all pentacles here in balance, as you can kind of like see, and in the arch over the moon. And this kind of like it's indicating the stability beyond change and beyond the phases of increase and decreases, right? So that's kind of like a waning and waxing kind of like a moon. And the Six of Pentacles usually indicates basically that having the means to be generous, and also that doesn't necessarily talk about material wealth and giving money, but that's some kind of generosity that comes from the heart and kind of like enjoying to do the stuff. This is also talking about the right timing, and it's kind of like really telling you that generosity is being called upon. But is it possible that this is calling for you to not forget one person that you forgot in the process? You, my dear Capricorn, generosity toward you. Maybe it is you who is the one who is doing the right thing. Maybe you're realizing futility of some kind of connection from the past, and now you kind of like are realizing that you need to kind of compartmentalize kind of the entire situation. So let's see what can be very unexpected in this period of time. You have bad health, the Empress, and Five of Pentacles. So I guess it's going to be one step forward, one step backward. So you're going from the Six of Pentacles, from this expansion, and you're stepping back, because each time you want to move forward, something is holding you, something is keeping you stuck in the situation. This simply could be dedication. The Empress is this card of motherhood, this card of creativity, that card of openness. But Five of Pentacles is kind of like feeling kind of like stuck in the situation and not really living up to your kind of like potential. You know, it's even, you know, sometimes giving up on the situation entirely. So the idea of freeing yourself and trusting is to kind of like open yourself to opportunities, open yourself up to the most that you can achieve. The Empress is extremely powerful card. If you're a woman, this is really calling for you to best you can be. If you're a man, it is calling you to kind of like affect your feminine kind of qualities, right? So she has basically, I don't know if you can see it here. Let me just kind of like pull it kind of forward. Look at around her neck. She has here, let's see it, 5-pointed, or is it 6-pointed? I think it's 5-pointed star. It should be 5-pointed. And the pentagram is a symbol of 5 senses, right? As well as of wealth and earth, right? So this is kind of like a really, really important thing, because this is also belonging to Venus. It's kind of coming to earth. It's coming to kind of like that feeling, hey, I'm home. So the Empress is our mother. Whether this is kind of like a real or idealized mother, it's kind of like a sense of, you know, we go through these phases in life. We kind of like are raised by our parents, the lucky ones, lucky one of between us, and the others are just like feeling continuously there is some kind of lack. So this is really talking about encouraging and loving nature and comfortable and gardening and a zoo and horse riding, bird watching, somebody who is enjoying food, somebody who loves to cook for others. So I guess for you, the surprise is going to be how actually somebody reacts around you. It kind of gives me this feeling that this most likely is you, that most likely you're unchanged in spite of the circumstances that are surrounding you, that you are actually maybe trying to bring some kind of like sense through basically sacrifice and giving yourself to this basically society. I don't know, I also feel that maybe you have elderly in your life, and it looks like that your occupation right now is elsewhere, that you're really dedicating yourself to some kind of causes. And those causes could be people in your life, or could be just causes in your life, such as like volunteering, such as like being in a hospital, such as like, I mean, making food for the seniors, helping seniors get their groceries. And you are just actually expanding and refining your own personality. And by doing that, even though you think you're still the same person you had it in you all along, each and every opportunity changes you. Just like each and every reading that I do changes me. I see more and more and more the more and more I give myself. And that's something that I see here for yourself. And I think you're going to actually realize that something that you have been thinking about, that you felt cannot be changed, now you're seeing in a different light. You're feeling kind of stuck with something in the past, but you have been blind, but now you can see. It's going to be that shift in perceptions, you know, the paradigms as they call them. So where is this thing going forward? You have the Lovers, and then you have a Prince of Cups. The Prince is going forward by you guys deciding to go forward, by you deciding to leave this turmoil and war and triggers and words and fight and collapses behind you. You know, you just basically are not going to have any of that anymore. You kind of like feel that dark is dark,
but you just kind of had enough of that. So there is like this essence of pushing forward. It's going to be not only loving, but also very sexual triggered energy. And I know you guys are horn dogs as well. This is kind of music to your ears. You might be also dealing with a Scorpio, but you have many other things. You have earth, you have water, and you have, I don't know, Scorpio, you have Sagittarians, you have Taurus, you have Libra. You pretty much you have so much over here. But the truth here is about clearing your own energy, clearing this turmoil, and being able to again free yourself for this energy to kind of connect. And you're going to connect with somebody's eyes. You're going to connect through somebody who is going to have pretty much severe intensity. You see, somebody who can maybe even come from the past. You see, this is kind of like that, a passage in the underworld. Somebody who is able to kind of like transform themselves. Is that the word? Even like transform themselves, mutate into something else, something that has been kind of like going for a while, which could be with some person from the past, but I'm more or less feeling that's going to be somebody completely fresh, completely new. So let me see this like twin flame union, and it is happening. You have been going through letdown. You have been going through things that probably you thought would not work, but right now you are getting all these accolades that you deserve. Queen of Pentacles, that would be you guys. That would be the feeling, being on top of the world. I'm sorry, I heard some noise outside, and I just really wanted to render this in peace because this is lovely and this is wonderful. High honor. I thank you guys. Really want things in your life to be above the board at any given point, and it looks like you have been diligent toward your family, toward your work, toward everything, and you really didn't get the same thing in return. And maybe that was kind of like what was puzzling you along the path, but you have also kind of like questioned like what went wrong, and it looks like something did go wrong over here. Now, freeing yourself from the turmoil, I think it's not so much freeing yourself from this person, or maybe you have already kind of resolved the situation, maybe, and kind of like feel that you're not together with this person, that certain situation didn't really work out, but you might be. Because you're coming into your full power here. As I said, by doing things for the others, you started to kind of expand yourself. You are simply just like really feeding that generosity. And it could be also something that you're helping in the church or in your community, because this is you guys, Queen of Pentacles, and this is kind of like also the Hierophant energy, which is also earth energy. There is like a lots of Taurus energy that is coming through in this reading as well. So here we are talking about, I don't know, priest or preacher or teacher or friend, or even a group, because we are seeing this kind of like group like kind of things happening over here. And but something also very ritualistic, rituals that we all kind of think are normal, such as cutting the trees in the December, right? Which kind of like is not a nice thing. Like basically plants also kind of like live, but this is something that is kind of like that kind of like way. But Hierophant is sometimes the opportunist who is kind of like using status to draw material. But in this case, I really think that somebody, look, is really, really eyeing you. You have been going through thick and thin, but you are really now holding a really, really high position in this person's mind. I really think there is like some kind of distance over here. There could be sort of like that connection in it, but you know, there is like still something that is happening. So this could be a long distance relationship, and it could be like sort of like that you're in each other's mind. You know, I really think there is like this level of acceptance that I see over here, because you know, authentic kind of like friend or teacher or boyfriend or girlfriend, it's kind of like accepting you just the way you are. Kind of the trust that you had over here. Trust is never supposed to be demand. You know, some people say, you have to trust me. The moment when somebody utters that sentence, the trust is not there. Trust cannot be given, because this is not a demand kind of like program. That's rather a natural or a growing part of relationship. And it looks like this trust can be actually evoked over here, and kind of like make this into something that is making a really good foundation. And once when this kind of like bond is established, it looks like it's never going to be broken. This to me is also a marriage card, and it is somebody who kind of like is supporting that they're not going to give up on each other. This guys also, I do have to say, in extreme cases can mean that somebody's going to put the ring on your finger, that something is approaching you from the distance about something, and this is falling on this kind of like connectivity between you and your twin flame. And lastly, let's see what is karma telling us about this. And you have you, the main female or main male, let's not kind of like discriminate over here. You are the master of your domain. You're the master of what you want to do. It is basically telling you, do you want to stay stuck in the situation, or do you really want to let down things and kind of like see the bigger picture around, which I think you're doing. You're not forcing things. You're kind of like making things evolve in a nice and a gentle manner, right? You are applying all these tiny little wisdoms that you have acquired along the way. Even these bad things, these things that have seen a loss or ridicule, are now actually woven into this kind of like fabric, and allowing you to kind of like more understand others and more kind of like give yourself. But it's kind of like really interesting how this is talking about you still having some kind of guarded attitude, even though I do see that these things can move forward. They will move forward in a very kind of dedicated way. With having so many pentacles and so many earth energy in your reading, combined with these kind of like a really higher level, almost like divine intervention messages, you guys are poised to really not to worry what's going to happen down the road, because things are being taken care of. You really need to kind of like figure out kind of like how to be the best you can be right here, right now, and let the destiny deal with the other issues and deal with the other messages. So my dear Capricorn, I have pulled one more card for you to seal this reading, and if you want to get your private reading, contact me via cattarot.ca. And also, if you haven't subscribed, you see this button over here, just click on it and you get invited to the live readings. So the card that came through was here and now, and it is again about this kind of like door opening, very much symbolic like what we have seen over here, right? There is like something really calling your attention, like, right, that past and future. So let me read for you what it says. It is easy to yearn for a love affair or friendship you may not have right now, one that is more romantic, more fun, more reliable, more passionate. The good old days are gone, and a new day has dawned. Let your heart trust that you have everything you need right now, whether you have the relationship you desire or not. Tomorrow is beyond your reach. Yesterday cannot return. The now is all that is available to you. Stay present and aware that in this moment, as you cherish, I'm giggling because everything was like pointing to that. As you cherish and approve of your beautiful self, you are a magnet for love. Spirit is madly in love with you right now. Did you know that? Turn to spirit to feel the joy of love in the here and now. So by focusing what matters, by focusing on how to make the next step, you guys are actually practically evolving much bigger pictures which you have seen in the cards. So it is really asking of you to trust the process, and everything will just be taken care of. Remember, you don't have to see the road kind of curves, right? You don't have to be afraid of what is behind this curve. Just keep going step by step by step, and you are going to hit it. So my dear Capricorn, I hope this kind of helped and gave you new perspective. I also hope that you click this button, that you're going to share and subscribe, and most importantly, I would love to hear your comments. And until the next time, hope to see you on my Instagram and on my Facebook. All the best. Love you.